we are moving on to absolute value equations and inequalities. What you're going to be able to do today, you can solve absolute value equations. We're not going to do inequalities today. We're going to start out with normal equations. So what we need to remember is what an absolute value is. And you need to know the absolute value symbol. That's the symbol. It looks like something's trapped within bars. That's the symbol of absolute value. An absolute value represents distance from zero. Always. Absolute value will never represent anything else. It's distance from zero on a number line. So you say, how far away from zero is this number? How far away from zero is 4? It's 4 spots away from zero. How far away from 0 is negative 4? 4. We did this in 7th grade, right? So absolute value means how far from 0. Here's the properties. There's always two numbers that are equidistant from 0. Notice my example in the beginning. There's always two numbers that are that far away from 0 on a number line. 4 is far away from 0. Negative 4 is far away from 0. So there's always two cases. The cases, it can be positive or it can be negative. It represents equal distance. So if I said, let me think here, the absolute value of 3 and the absolute value of negative 3, notice they're both 3 away from 0. They're both the same distance away from 0. The biggest thing, it can never be negative at first. Absolute value is always positive. You're always some kind of distance away. But there are negative numbers involved, but it's always a positive answer when you're first given it. Okay, so this, you must understand these first three in order to bump up to the algebraic expressions. The absolute value of x is 4. So I'm asking you, what is x to make that true?
4.
Or?
Negative 4.
Okay, so let me tell you my thinking pattern here. I am saying what numbers are 4 away from 0? That's what's going on in my head. And it goes on in my head through this whole entire chapter. You're gonna hear me say it all the time. What is this far away from 0? So what numbers are 4 away from 0? X can be what? 4. Or x can be negative 4. Both of them are 4 away from 0 on a number line. The second one, what is x if it's 5 spots away from 0? X is 5 or x is negative 5. Right? There's two numbers that are 5 away from 0. But it's not, and this is where kids are like, hey, maybe if you solved this first case and got 6, I saw a couple of you got negative 6 as well. It's not always that case. It's not always one answer and the negative answer. It depends on what's inside the absolute value. Okay? What numbers are negative 2 away from 0? Nothing. Yay! I'm glad the two people I faced or I looked at, both of them are like, no, because you're always a positive distance. This is this. It can never be negative at first. This is called no solution. Okay? No solution means it cannot be negative at first. All right, so now you have the basis of absolute value equations. You know that there's two numbers that are equal distance away from 0. So there's always a positive number and a negative number that are the same distance away. Now we're going to have to solve an equation. To solve, we need to make sure that the absolute value sign is alone. That's huge, and that's tomorrow's lesson. Everything today, the absolute value sign is going to be alone. Tomorrow, you're going to have to isolate it. And then you need to create your cases. So remember your cases, you have a positive case. Your distance can be a positive number, or you have a negative case. And then you solve. Okay, this first one's going to look a little weird because you've never seen this before aside from one time. This is how I say it. This is how I say this equation. The absolute value of x minus 1 is 5. The absolute value of x minus 1 is 5. So what this means is this, whatever is inside here, is 5 spots away from 0. It's just like this front page, except there's something inside the absolute value. And you were all on board with me here that if I said x is 4 away from 0, then you say, well, x can be 4 or negative 4. Same thing, just more things inside it. So I want to know what inside here is 5 spots away from 0. Here's how I set it up. I say, well, x minus 1 can be a positive 5, because it can be 5 spots away from 0, or another one that's 5 spots from 0, x minus 1 is negative 5. Do you see how I set that up there? So I say this is positive away from 0, or whatever's inside here is negative away from 0. Because there's two numbers that are that far from 0. And then I solve both cases. Plus 1, x is 6, plus 1. And now this is where some kids are like, oh, 6 or negative 6. Nuh-uh. Look, x is negative 4. So all of your answers today are going to be 2 answers. Okay, next one. The absolute value of 2x minus 1 is 7. That means I want to know what inside here is 7 spots from 0. So there's two things that are 7 spots from 0. 7 and negative 7. So how I set this up, 2x minus 1 equals 7, or 2x minus 1 equals negative 7. Then you're going to plus 1. Then you get 2x is 8, x is 4. And then you solve that other case. Or plus 1, 2x is negative 6, x is negative 3. And I solved my cases. Okay, so this is incredibly different. And now I wanna just pause for a second and show you like my thinking pattern again with this. So when I said the absolute value is equal to 5, I know absolute value is either a positive number or negative because it represents distance from 0. Distance from 0, there's two numbers that are the same distance from 0. So what I do is I put what's inside. You know what maybe you could do? You could go absolute value is equal to your positive, or whatever's inside your absolute value is equal to negative. That might be easier for you to set up to see that's exactly what I'm doing. Whatever's inside here is positive, or whatever's inside the symbol is negative. That's how I always set it up. And we could try that strategy if you want. Here. So here's like the template. If you like templates, like just tell me what I need to do. How do I need to set this up? So the first one, x minus 10 is equal to 12. That means whatever's inside here is 12 away from 0. So you could say x minus 10 equals a positive 12. That's me setting it up. Or, now I'm doing the second one. X minus 10 is negative 12. Now I don't really love this strategy because my absolute value sign should be gone. So now you could erase that absolute value, because once you make your cases, my eraser's too big, but once you make your cases, you shouldn't have absolute value. Cases means the positive and negative. And then you could go plus 10, x is 22, or plus 10, x is negative 2. So that's a template. Because this is very, very abstract and intense algebra. So you can go ahead and use it. That's always how I set it up. Whatever the absolute value is the positive number, or whatever it is the negative number. Okay, I'm going to set up the next one. So whatever my absolute value is positive, so that's x minus 1 is 1, or x minus 1 is negative 1. That's this template. Whatever's inside is positive, or whatever's inside is negative. Inside positive, inside negative. Plus 1, so x is 2, or plus 1, x is 0. That's my learning target for you today. So you're going to be given an absolute value equation, and you're going to have to solve. There's 2 answers unless it's a no solutioner.